Okay, so let's try and tease out some of the missing pieces of the puzzle with Air Commodore Darryn Webb.
I guess what we are discovering is it certainly is complex business. Normally, person-to-person contact seems the most obvious, and that's where we've focused a lot of our attention. We've drawn swipe card access from both the room and from his own movements, and we can just establish no obvious connection between the two. She was only there a short period before she was moved to the jet park, and so based on our interviews with them both, asking very specific questions as well as the swipe card access, it's just no obvious connection. And so then, I guess logically you're thinking a third person or some sort of environmental transfer.
So the worker was in the room twice before the guest arrived, right? On the 21st and 23rd of July. Was he wearing PPE the times he entered the room?
He certainly was, and that room was vacant, and the workers have very clear specific procedures to wear gloves and facial masks.
So he was wearing gloves and a facial mask at the time?
He was, Lisa.
He fixed the TV in the shower. Have those areas been surfaced swabbed?
That room was cleaned, and we use a hospital-grade cleaning device to clean these rooms. This isn't just a normal household cleaning system, so that room was absolutely clean. So
there's no point in taking swabs, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
So none have been taken from that room whatsoever?
I think what we're seeing is swabbing from a surface, an area that the Ministry of Health are looking into as a further option, and I believe they are looking into it across a range of areas as well.
So why was that room not cleaned for 14 days after she left?
It was cleaned, and it was vacant for that period.
It was vacant. So what day did the cleaning take place?
The room was cleaned on the 14th of August.
Right, so why such a big gap between when she left and the room was cleaned?
Well, we have a system in place where we align supply and demand. The room wasn't required during that period. There is a cleaning protocol which normally requires that room to be left vacant for 10 days. That's, again, at a health policy direction. So we left that room vacant for that period, and it was cleaned on the 14th of August in preparation for it to be used again.
Right, so was she travelling with anyone?
I believe she was alone.
Okay. Is there any proof that anyone else entered that room during the time the woman was there?
We have had a report of the nurse who entered the room and to take her health check. And
the nurse has been tested?
The nurse has been tested, and I believe she is being retested.
Okay, and so what does that test tell us? Was she negative? Has she been negative both times?
I'm still awaiting the advice from the retest, but I am of the understanding that she was negative the first test, but I will need to corroborate that through with the health department.
What about antibody testing of the nurse?
I don't think that's been taken place yet, but that's underway, and that takes around 3 days for that information to come back.
Okay, so how much of the maintenance person's movements have you been able to track using the swipe cards and CCTV footage? Put another way, where are the blind spots here?
Yeah, I mean, he was a busy maintenance man who manoeuvred around the hotel doing his everyday work. So we have him on different areas and different rooms doing normal functions that you would expect of a hotel maintenance man. Some CCTV blind spots in any hotel, it doesn't have 100% coverage. Again, I come back to the point that she was only there a very short time. So we haven't been able to establish any other obvious points of contact, either from person to person or environmental.
So she was there from July 28th to July 31st. Was the maintenance man working on those days?
He was.
All of them?
That's my understanding.
So has he done maintenance on any rooms where the woman may have had contact with the guests from those other rooms?
It certainly doesn't appear that way, Lisa.
Okay. So what about the woman's movements? How fulsome a picture have you got of her movements from the swipe card and the CCTV footage? How often did she leave her room and where did she go?
Yeah, so she arrived from a flight from Los Angeles and she got into that hotel at 7:57 in the morning of the 28th of July. She largely stayed in her room, and she was out of her room for only 1 hour between approximately 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. on the 29th. And then she was in her room for the next period of time, right through to her transfer to the jet park at 10:50 in the morning on the 31st of July. And when you think about it logically, if she wasn't feeling particularly well, it appears at face value that she was in her room. She was probably recovering from her flight from LA, became unwell, sought attention from the nurse. She was tested on site there and then transferred to the Jet Park Hotel.
So she was literally only out of her room for 1 hour during her entire stay until the point that she left?
That is the information we have from the swipe card and everything that corroborates with her story.
When you say she got, obviously, attention from a nurse once she became unwell, is that the same nurse that entered her room?
Yeah, I was talking with the DG Health about that today. I think there was more than one nurse, and they are seeking all the data that they can about that nursing staff. She would get daily checks, of course, and then she would have had her actual swab test, which would have followed on from her positive case.
So there's potentially more than one nurse that she's had contact with?
So that's right. So they're looking at the nursing staff as we speak.
Have those nurses have contact with the maintenance man?
Not that we're aware of, no.
When the woman left the room, was she wearing a face mask?
She would have been wearing full PPE for her transfer to the Jet Park.
When she left for that hour between
my apologies.
9 and 10?
She would have been.
Have you checked that on CCTV?
The CCTV doesn't have full coverage across all parts of the facility, but the SOPs and this particular facility, like all of our facilities, is very hot on all of those IPCs, and I have questioned the staff there throughout the last 5 days that she would have been following protocols, which is to wear PPE.
Right, but you cannot confirm for sure that she was masked up when she left the room. You're saying that was standard operation protocol, but you've got no evidence that she was wearing a mask when she left the room.
I don't have a CCTV footage shot of her leaving the room, but what I'm just going on is the procedures in place and the investigations that have supported that so far.
Okay, so to the best of your knowledge then, the possible avenues for investigation are the nurses. They're the only potential common thread that you can see at the moment.
They seem the most likely. Again, we are around the world learning more and more about this virus every single day. So whether it's any other particular contact issue or third-party transfer or some other as yet unknown or undetected aspect, but that appears the most logical course to look further at this stage. So
you're retesting everybody who was at this particular hotel. Has that shown you anything yet?
Not yet. We have tested all of his close contacts, and they are negative. And so far, all of the analysis we've done has not proven any other positive case outcomes.
In terms of Rydges staff and people who were working in and around that facility, have any of them left in the meantime who might not be in your employ for the second round of testing?
So you're talking about those people from the 14th of August onwards?
Yeah.
No, so we have everybody who's still on site, and we're going through that test and retest phase, and we'll be looking to seek health advice before we decide upon how long we think we should hold them for.
Okay, so also today we hear you're getting an extra 500 more defence personnel for the isolation and quarantine facilities. Why do you need them? What are they going to be doing?
Well, all the way along, Lisa, we've talked about the need for continuous improvement in all of our facilities, and so that's really what we're talking about. It's boosting on-site support for each of those facilities to provide a more enduring and sustainable plan.
So you're getting 80 extra at Maritime Border. Have there not been any there before?
We haven't had any Defence Force personnel assigned to the Maritime Border, but of course that border also is a critical part of New Zealand's, the border system, and so we are looking to put in 80 people to start with there at the border, yes.
So is this an admission that, you didn't have the resources that you needed to do the job?
Not at all. No, what we're saying is continuous improvement continues to be a really key part of what we're doing, and those extra defence personnel will be a really welcome boost to the system.
Okay, because you were brought in to apply military precision and rigour to the operation and function in MIQ. Have you been able to do that? Because there seems to be, well, there's been ongoing incidents, hasn't there? So is it harder than you thought it was going to be?
Well, as we said all the way along, this is an absolutely complex system. We are running 32 facilities. At any given day, we've got the size of a small town spread across New Zealand. Up until now, we've successfully managed to reintegrate over 40,000 people back into New Zealand, Lisa. So what we're saying is it's a really robust system, but it is a system with people at the heart of it. And I guess I'll just take this opportunity to remind everybody who's listening, both inside those facilities and New Zealanders at home, that personal accountability lies at the very heart of defences to our protection against COVID. So it's certainly not easy. We're finding that. All the way along, we've said when we find things we need to fix, we will do that. It's only logical to expect things and minor things to go wrong all the way through, and we're finding that, but we'll fix them as we go.
And that was Air Commodore Darryn Webb.